Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now Battlegrounds are set to return in less than an hour, so I wanted to give a few tips and pieces of advice for players who are gonna take it more serious this time around, haven't had too much of a practice, or maybe just because they have been gone for a while, have forgotten some of the fundamentals and more important things. Number one, remember, it's not important how impressive your fight is or how well you play. What is important in Battlegrounds is how well do you score. So you need to be fully aware of the fact that you must finish the fight with as high health as possible and to do it as quickly as possible. Now, unfortunately, well, I say it unfortunately because it's more points than it would be to my liking are given to the time factor. So even if you have the perfect matchup, even if you have the perfect quote-unquote safe counter, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will win that match because speed is often more important, and that is coming in quite important when you build your deck, both for defense and offense. You're not necessarily looking for the champions that are hardest to fight against or, you know, can be somewhat tricky. You're looking for champions that are going to extend the fight and or will do some guaranteed damage to your opponent on defense. And on offense, you are looking for champions that do not just answer some of the problems or many of the problems. You're looking for champions that answer those problems well and quickly and nuke down the opponents. Therefore, immediately the stock of champions like Ghost is rising. The stock of champions like Stacking Hand Spider-Man is basically going through the roof. Falcon, so on and so forth. You need champions with a high damage output and high amount of versatility. The champion might have the most utility in the world. They might just not be overly suited, just like virtually none of the ramp-up champions are overly suited. Number two, and I have seen this mistake made by many, do not put champions in your deck that you do not know how to play. Even if you plan on using that champion on defense like 4 times out of 5, at the very least get somewhat familiar with the champions that you are using in your deck, so you know when you can use them offensively. You are going to be better at placing those champions against appropriate opponents' attackers, and that knowledge aspect of Battlegrounds is really one of the biggest deals, so to speak. Just be aware of how many interactions those champions have, and again, be able to play. Like, I've seen a lot of people have seen in streams that Mr. Negative is amazing in Battlegrounds, but since they don't know exactly how to use Mr. Negative, they just, you know, completely get smashed in every match. Even if a champion is great for Battlegrounds, amazing, even if I say that this is the MVP or one of the best champions ever for me, it means nothing if you can't use that champion. So don't. Learn how to use a champion before you add it to your deck. Number 2. Number 3, be aware of how draft system works. Now, ultimately, with the current setup of Battlegrounds, without a doubt, if you have to pick first and place first, you are at a very significant disadvantage. One of the reasons for that is because an opponent gets to draft last, and if you do get your last draft pick, you can pick a defender opponent has no answer for, and that often can be the decision maker as well as the placing and countering in the 3rd round. So if you are picking first, my personal advice is to start off with a defender that, well, start off ideally with a dual purpose champion, so opponent has to keep that champion in mind for offense and defense. But if you are picking last, then again, understand that your final trump card might be the winning match card, so to speak. Even if opponent thinks they have you cornered, then you find a perfect attacker to counter something you were not able to. Or, most commonly, for instance, if opponent hasn't drafted anything to counter, I don't know, bishop, or to counter, like, for the sake of purpose, both of you and your opponents have drafted full decks, and opponent has nothing that's poison immune, and you get Immortal Abomination. That is your winning strategy. You pick up that Immortal Abomination, you slap it down, opponent has no poison immune, they're going to get wrecked very quickly, very fast. That is the advantage of going second, and utilize that advantage to the fullest by trying to trap your opponent the best you can with a unique kind of ability defender that opponent might not be able to encounter. Now, those are the most important things. final kind of like more generic piece of advice, remember, rather than putting in mediocre and bad champions that you might have at 6-star rank 3 level 4 Battlegrounds, you're much better using 5 stars, because those 5 stars will perform much better than champions that are just not suited for Battlegrounds. And it doesn't mean that the champions are bad in themselves, it's just that there are a whole bunch of champions that do not necessarily work very well for Battlegrounds. A quick example would be Aegon, amazing champion, absolute garbage for Battlegrounds because, you know, you don't have time to ramp him up and get that utility. Anti-Venom, great champion, not particularly great for Battlegrounds because he's just not with high enough damage output, so to speak. Or like Cable, I have seen some people debate on adding Cable in their deck. Well, realistically, Cable is not that hard of an opponent, and definitely a subpar attacker without Apocalypse synergy. So he's not going to be a good Battlegrounds champion. So instead of adding 6-star rank 3 Cable, you're going to be much better off adding something like 5-star rank 5 Emma Frost, or 5-star rank 5 Spider-Gwen, or 5-star rank 5, I don't know, Thing, or something that actually fit the kind of like descriptions and needs of the Battleground. Now, this first week, we're going to have no nodes. That makes me believe that it's going to be largely kind of like nuke meta, where champions like Hitmonkey, Ghost, CGR basically dominate, and it's not going to be easy to stop those champions from rolling through everything insanely quickly. So we can see exactly how meta goes itself. I'll definitely upload a video kind of explaining what seems to work for me, what doesn't. I'll plan on streaming Battlegrounds a lot. I'll be live as soon as Battlegrounds launches, and I plan on making videos and guides about Battlegrounds similar to this, just going in more detail. All that being said, remember to utilize your bans wisely. And I have seen many different approaches. Some people like to ban attackers, some people like to ban defenders. I personally always ban opponents' most potent attackers. I do feel like that's kind of more confident approach, because my goal is to slow down opponent as much as possible, and I at the same time kind of believe in my ability to deal with opponent's defenders at least 2 out of 3 times, if that makes sense. And yeah, very last kind of more maybe advanced tip is that quite often the winning strategy is to throw around. If opponent has a perfect counter for your defender, and you know that there's nothing you can do to defeat the time and the speed that your opponents can destroy your defender, there is nothing wrong in throwing around, getting wrecked completely, but to maybe preserve the better defender and attacker for the final round and give yourself a chance then. Right, that's about it. I hope you all are excited for the returns of Battleground. I know I am. And I'll catch you guys soon live. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the next